All right. We are live. We're going to be going through this deal in Birmingham because I want to really refine our buy box here in this area, especially since we analyzed one deal yesterday in Birmingham. So let's just keep on going. So this is on 935 Garden Street in Birmingham, Alabama. Make sure this is not in the flood zone because there's some reverse area there. Okay, so this is not in the flood zone, which is great. First thing I want to do is go through and scan through the photos, and it looks like it's pretty much renovated. It's got new cabinets, bathrooms look renovated. It's 2 bathrooms as well, so that makes it a little bit more attractive. I didn't see any. Is that a bedroom? No, that must be the living room. I didn't see any of the bedroom photos, and I don't know why. Maybe they did not renovate the bedrooms. Let me read the description really quick. 3 bed, 2 bath. Bedrooms provide flexibility. So I don't know why they left out the bedrooms. So I'm going to assume it was renovated to a similar extent because this is actually a pretty expensive house, $130,000 in Birmingham, compared to what we've been seeing lately. So I'm going to use and assume that this property has been pretty much, for the most part, been renovated in a lot of bedrooms, but maybe I'll just hedge against it in case. Second thing I want to do is do a quick street view drop by. Now in Birmingham, it's really a street by street neighborhood. So you want to just look at the conditions of the homes on the street to make sure that there isn't a lot of trash, domestic homes. And that's what I'm really doing here. I'm trying to see if there's like a home that looks like they've been blown up or something like that. Go down the street behind it really quick too. Yeah, these homes actually look pretty good. And the reason I'm doing this is because on these neighborhoods, they're really street by street. And if you're not careful, you might be getting a property to the wrong street. Because here's the thing, right? I generally go to tophap.com, tophap.com. And if you look at the neighborhood for this property compared to the property you looked at yesterday in Birmingham, fairly different. Like this neighborhood is definitely nicer. But if you go to the neighborhood section in tophap.com and go scroll down to the neighborhood section, scroll down to the crime index score, it has the same crime index score, probably because they're averaging it based on the zip code. So it's a fairly large area on a zip code basis, but you really have to look at street by street. And that's very similar to another market like Detroit, right? So this market this street or this neighborhood doesn't look that bad based on the street view so far. So next thing we want to do is we want to grab the FMR, which is the fair market rents. We're going to go to HUD's website. If you Google HUD FMR, you can come down here and click on Access Small Area FMRs. And then you can click on Look Up FY 2024 Small Area FMRs. And you can click on Alabama. And this is going to be in Jefferson County. For those of you that don't know where to get the county, if you're on a Redfin listing, you can just simply do a control find and you'll be able to find a county. And that's how I was able to find out that this property was in Jefferson County. Once you get here, what you're going to want to do is you want to look by zip code, by bedroom count, what the fair market rents are, or what I would call are the ceiling rents for this property. Now, on the ceiling rents, this is how we're able to find, boom, for this property, it is 35221. And then you'll be able to see on the HUD's website in 35221 that the max rent right here is $1,420. Okay, this is a number, $1,420, and that's going to be your ceiling rent. Now we're going to compare this to the market rent. Again, yesterday I think I plugged in a certain address. Today we'll plug in 935 Garden Street, and you'll see whether or not there is a big difference. 935 Garden Street, 3 bedrooms, and you're going to see that it pulls up 6 units only, a little bit different than what we got yesterday. 6 units within a 1.12 mile radius at 1728. That seems a little high to me, to be honest, because we looked at just another property in the same zip code. So this is why having more accurate information is going to be more helpful. Now, what I want to do is let me go ahead and plug these numbers in. 3 bedroom, 1728, and that was for a 1.12 mile radius. And this is going to be for 6 units because my partners understand like how I underwrite. So that's why I want to make sure I note down all these details that's already there. 1,049 for zip, 1110 for city, and 1482 for county. All right. Then I'm also getting the FMR, which is 1420 for 35221. And then the 4-bedroom rent is 1590. I usually grab the 4-bedroom rent as well, because just in case there is a creative way to get more bedrooms, like converting a garage as an example, to achieve higher rents, well, at least that is possible now going forward at this front. So from that point onwards, what we want to do is plug in some numbers. All right. So this property was listed at 129,900. 129,900. The renovations here, I'm gonna go to the rehab calculator. And again, while I'm going through this, please feel free to just DM me your email and let me know you're looking for the calculator. But I've been very fortunate. I've been given these calculators by other folks, and I've been able to modify them so that they can accomplish what I hope to do during my underwriting process. I'm gonna set aside $1,500 for the roof, just in case there's any roof issues that the flipper does not appear to have been taken care of. The landscaping, I got $500 to do some landscaping maintenance. The property looks like it's pretty much painted, so I'm not going to set aside any capital to paint the place. Now, this is 1,008 square feet. I did not see any photos of the bedrooms, so I'm just a little skeptical here. So I'm just going to do 1,008 divided by 2. What if half the house needs new flooring? And I could be overestimating this, right? Because right now I got 500 square feet, and that is going to equal to roughly at about $4,000, assuming $8 a square foot. So I don't need to renovate the bathroom because both the bathrooms look pretty good. So I'm going to zero that out from before. I'm assuming the water heater is there because it better be functional. And then I'm going to leave aside about $1,000 for termite fumigation. So all in all, I'm assuming there's no termite issues too. I'm going to zero that out. Whoops. Let's leave that there. 1,000. Let me just make sure all these numbers are adding up correctly. 5,500. 7,032. Okay, good. So it's all adding up correctly. 7,032, and it's going to add a 20% premium, so that brings us to $8,500, roughly speaking, for our underwriting. So that's going to equal to 8,438 right there. Let me delete that comment so we don't confuse anybody. Now, the rent I'm going to be using is $1,175, and that's because another affordable housing investor in our affordable housing community told us about the rents that they're getting for a 3-bedroom. It was a 3-bed, 1-bath, so maybe we can get to full 1,200 because we have extra bathroom. But their property is about 1,200 square feet. It's 1,000, so give or take, it's a little different. But we're going to use 1,175 as our best case scenario here, even though we saw that the market rent here for 6 units is $1,728. And then our maximum rent is $1,420. I have better information from someone that just got a voucher approved from the housing authority that got $1,175. So I'm not going to underwrite this as $1,420 because then I might be overestimating, right? When someone just told me that's what they got approved on a renovated property, it's silly for me to think that I can achieve a higher rent than that when they also just did a renovation on that property. So that's something that's really important for you to pay attention to, just so that you are underwriting correctly. Now, property tax years is $27. The property tax yesterday I saw for a property was $80. So this is actually a lot lower than I expected at 27. That doesn't make any sense. That seems really low. I'll put in 27, but let me put in at least 50 because yesterday we got $80 and that was a $90,000 property. That seems a little bit off. For insurance costs, 101, roughly kind of almost nets out. Okay, I'm setting aside 10% for my maintenance, 8% for my property management, which is what I have so far, and 5% for vacancy. Now, if I assume that I'm paying 25% down on this property, I got 2.5% closing costs, and I got $8,400 of renovations that I'm going to do on the property, even though it looks pretty turnkey already. What if I got this property at 8.5%? Let's do 8.25 because it's probably lowered a little bit at least. If I got a 25% down at 8.25% interest, this will result in a $20 cash flow amount, 22 technically. So let's kind of do this all together. So at 1175, this property is going to be $22 of cash flow, and my cash and cash return is 0.6. This assumes a purchase price of $129,900, and I was assuming the rehab would be $8,400. I was assuming 25% down, 8% seller finance interest rate. All right, cool. Let's keep this rental assumption as is. And I want to understand what purchase price does this property need to be in order for me to achieve a 15% return. So if I went to $70,000, well, there you go, 75, 72.5. There you go. So I would be willing to pay $72.5K to achieve a $345 of cash flow a month, assuming this gets me to 14.6% cash and cash return, $8,400 rehab, 85%, and at 8.25% interest rate right there, 8.25. So this is how I run through all the different scenarios to figure out, hey, what would make this a deal, quote unquote. And in this scenario, this is what we got for the purchase price. Well, what if my rehab was half of what it was instead of $8,400 because it's turnkey? Maybe the bedrooms look just fine and they just simply forgot to put in the photos. Well, what would I be willing to pay now? Well, now all of a sudden, let's go up to $77,500 maybe. Let's see. Yeah. So now because my rehab got half to $4,200, I'm now willing to pay $77,500 for this property, and that will still yield me 14.9% cash and cash return, which cash flow $317. I was still assuming 25% down, 8.25% interest rate. So these are all the different scenarios that I'm going through in my head to determine what set of terms would make this property a deal. Because for every property, there's a purchase price, there's a set of terms, there are numbers that would make it a deal based on your own investment criteria. Now, of course, this is not investment advice. This is not solicitation for any investments at all. Simply just documenting what I'm doing on an everyday basis. Because whenever you see anyone that has 1,000 doors, there's implied work involved, which means that chances are if you have 100 doors, you probably have looked at 1,000 deals. And that's just the implied work. And this is the implied work. This is the unsexy work that people don't talk about every single day, which is analyzing deals and looking at deals, even though they might not pan out to be anything, or it might not even be worth your time. But this way, it tells you, hey, for a property in the zip code 35221, if it looks good on the Google Maps and it's relatively turnkey and I can get it for a 3-bedroom for about 72 to 77 grand, chances are that's a deal. Well, this is the part of the efficiency that I'm hoping people walk away from this. It's like once you analyze enough deals within a certain market, you come up with your buy box. And you can communicate that buy box to certain folks, and like a realtor as an example, and say, hey, if you ever come across a deal that's relatively turnkey for about 72 grand, I would be willing to buy it. And now you're being more efficient with your time, because then you have multiple, what I call are folks that are looking out for deals for you. And now all of a sudden, when you are specific enough, it's easier for people to find what you're looking for. So that's one way you can go about it. Now, yesterday, we also looked at on PropStream to see whether there is a underlying loan that's in place for this property, to see if there's a creative finance deal that's possible for this property. And I'm going to try loading up PropStream on the other screen right now, just to see whether or not we can see whether or not this property is owned free and clear. 935 Garden Street, 935 Garden Street. That's in Birmingham. Birmingham. There we go. I found it. So when you're on PropStream, you're able to pull up the address and you click on the detail section. If there's a loan in place, you'll be able to see it. So here you can see the loan. There is a loan already that's a conventional loan for 6.81% return. Oh, but here's the thing. It's a 12-month loan. So guess what? Chances are this is a hard money deal, which is why you can see that it's only a 12-month loan. Usually these are hard money, short-term loans. And you see that this person is carrying this loan and they're estimating it's $7,000 a month. So that seems a little high in my opinion. But you can see why they got a loan for $80,000 and why they have to sell for $130,000 so that they can make it back on their flip. So that's how I quickly realized like this would not be a subject to deal, because normally you do not take over a subject to from a hard money lender unless you are trying to flip the home yourself or you have a quick way to pay back the property, like there's enough equity that you're able to force onto the property. So this probably will not be a good candidate for a creative finance deal like we've been doing, like the one we did yesterday in Birmingham. So that's where we'll start with the property. It's like, hey, at 77,500, if that's my best case scenario or the highest price that I can offer, assuming my rehab is only $4,200, that's probably not a deal that's going to get accepted. So it's probably not worth my time, because if they have a loan, what we saw just now, right on PropStream, if they have a loan for 80.75K, that means that they probably invested more in the rehab. That means they probably invested a good amount of capital, and they still have closing costs to cover too. So they would be losing money if they gave me the deal for 77.5K. So it's probably not worth my time unless I see it floating on a market for a little bit longer, because maybe they might have overpriced it. But for me, at least right now, this is down to deal. And that's how I ultimately arrived at that conclusion. So, all right. Thanks for staying consistent with me, everybody. Let's keep underwriting deals together. And I will be back here again tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing Tuesday. Let's do it again tomorrow.